Hello, I'm Mathieu from Tutovox.fr. Today in this Tutovox, my colleague Fanny and I will explain everything you need to play your first game of Jurassic World Miniature Game. Jurassic World Miniature Game makes you reenact the iconic adventures of the Jurassic Park movies. Be the humans or be the dinosaurs and try to best other species by completing objectives set at the beginning of the game. Jurassic World Miniature Game is a miniature skirmish game. You may play preset scenarios or free play by using decks of cards you have made. You must opt for the best strategy if you want to complete the scenario's objective, or if you want to collect a set number of victory points. Let's move to setup. Beware, this video is not exhaustive. I will showcase the base rules in a two-player game with the recommended decks. I will not broach the subject of deck building. When you play a scenario, you may play with the recommended decks or build your own decks as instructed in the rulebook. For this video, I am showing a particular scenario, the rescue party, using the Triceratops and the humans. In this scenario, two groups of visitors are smack into Triceratops territory. The humans' goal is to evacuate the visitors, whereas the Triceratops wants to flee while escaping the rangers. First, put the game mat in the center of the table. Choose who plays as the Triceratops, and choose who plays as the rangers. Gather your unit boards and place them in front of you. Take the matching miniatures and the hero and action cards linked to your units as recommended by the scenario. The human player retrieves the indicated vehicle, equipment and ammunition cards. Each player shuffles each of their decks and places them face down next to their unit board. The human player starts with the following cards face up: 4-4, long-range radio and sedative rifles. After shuffling the sedative condition cards, place 4 of them face down under each sedative rifle. Insert a claw in each track of your board. Put the first one on the 0 of the adrenaline track, and the second one on the maximum health point value. Note that the human's health point value has 2 sections with 4 points each. Place 1 claw on that track on the rightmost 2. On the game mat, place the scenario elements. Objective tiles A and B. These are the visitor groups. Place the big terrain tiles, bushes and rocks as shown by the map. Then deploy your miniatures on the indicated areas. Toss the coin to determine who deploys their unit first. Each places their units in the deployment area shown by the scenario. Beware, the human player has 8 miniatures, but these represent only 1 unit. Whenever you deploy a multi-hex unit, you may group multiple units in the same hex, with a limit of 4 for 40 by 35mm base miniatures, and 2 miniatures for 70 by 35mm miniatures. Each group of miniatures is called a subunit. You cannot have more than 2 subunits in play. You logically must place your 8 humans in 2 subunits of 4 miniatures, on 2 different hexes. The unit cohesion rule, which I will cover later, allows you to have a subunit over multiple hexes as long as they are connected to one center hex. According to this rule, you may place your unit on 2 adjacent hex groups. Once the human player has deployed, they pick one of their miniatures as a sergeant and show it to their opponent. Other miniatures are simple troopers. Next to the board, place the coin, the stunned, wound and fear condition cards as face-down decks. Make a supply of tiles and tokens: round, damage, smoke, stealth and grabbed blocked tokens. Draw the first 5 cards of your hero deck. You may mulligan once and only now. This means you may discard as many of those cards as wished, then draw as many. finally, read the scenario-specific rules. In this case, the Ranger's weapons are non-lethal and the Triceratops loses consciousness instead of being killed. Visitor groups cannot be killed or grabbed by the Triceratops. When the Triceratops moves on a visitor group, it pushes it towards the Ranger's deployment area. When all Rangers are adjacent to a visitor group, those are moved along with the Rangers and under the same conditions. Setup is now finished, let's move on to the rules. A game of Jurassic World, the miniature game, is played over several rounds until an endgame condition is met. Either a game objective is reached, or you have played through several rounds without reaching one. In the case of our scenario, the endgame conditions are for the Park Rangers. Entering visitor groups A and B exit the board through the exit tile opposite to their deployment area. The Triceratops must flee on the opposite side of its deployment area. Before moving on to the heart of the matter and seeing how a game round unfolds, let's dwell on your game components. Your unit board has areas where you are going to play your cards and holds important info regarding your unit. In this black frame, you'll find the name of your unit, the keywords it has, and that will be used to trigger some game abilities, and the icon of its faction. These icons are important, especially during deck building when free playing. You'll find the faction icons on page 9 of the rulebook. The red keywords are specific characteristics of your unit, granting you bonuses in certain situations. The red number on the far right of the black frame is the number of action cards you'll draw each turn. On the bottom right, you'll find the expansion symbol of the unit. When setting up, we've seen those two tracks, for life and adrenaline. This series of icons represents the base skills of your unit. The action cards are cards you will program and activate during your turn. Here's the title of the card. Right next to it, you'll see two white symbols with a red number. The first symbol is the initiative value of the card. Note that you can also find this value on the back of the card. The number next to the DNA symbol is the upgrade cost. This information is important, especially during free play, to build your action deck. In the bottom part of the card, you may see two lines of symbols separated by a line. The symbols on top of the line are the main abilities of the action card. The symbols below the line are the conditional effects of the action card. The necessary condition to trigger those effects is represented by the symbol that starts the line. On the right side of the card, 5 spaces may be filled with red and/or white symbols. These symbols may trigger combos during your turn. The hero cards are cards you will play without programming. You may play a hero card when indicated, as shown here. You'll find the title of the card and symbol of faction or factions that may use it. These two pieces of information are important, notably when deck building. In this area, you'll find the ability of the card. Sometimes you will have multiple effects to choose from. This choice is indicated by the OR word. Sometimes you will be able to apply multiple effects, as shown by the AND word. In case of the impressive marksmanship card, you will see that the AND word is conditional. It depends on the combination of two characteristics. To activate an effect, know that you may have to spend adrenaline. If no word specifically mentions it, like in fast metabolism, this needs to be spent. As a reminder, you start the game with 0 adrenaline. Know that every moment of the game you may discard one of your hero cards to gain 1 adrenaline. You may repeat this as long as you have hero cards to discard. You may also gain adrenaline based on your unit's powers. See your unit boards to discover how to perform this and in under what conditions. As you may have noticed, Jurassic World has a variety of icons. Remember that hexagonal icons are for active skills or actions. Circles are passive skills and triangles are conditions. The red icons on the hero cards or on the main or conditional actions are bonuses granted to the opponent. Now that you are familiar with the components, let's see how a game turn unfolds. A game turn is made out of 4 distinct phases: initiative phase, action phase, scare phase, and victory phase. Initiative phase. During this phase you will program your action phase. Draw as many action cards as shown on your unit board. Draw 2 hero cards. Add them to your hero hand. As you just drew 5 cards from this deck during setup, ignore this during the first round. Select the action card you want to play during this turn and place it face down on the active card space of your unit board. Other cards from your hand are discarded immediately. However, you may keep one of these cards for next turn. To do so, put the card you wish to keep face down on the idle space of your unit board. During the next initiative phase, retrieve the idle card and complete your hand up to hand size. If you decide not to use this idle card, it is discarded and you draw as shown on your board. You may not keep an idle card for more than 1 turn. The first play of the round is determined by initiative value of the active card, with some initiative bonuses. As long as your opponent has not programmed their active card, you should hide your initiative value, so as not to influence their choice. Action phase. As its name suggests, this phase has you perform actions. Compare initiative to determine the activation order. Activate units one by one by descending order of initiative. And be mindful of any bonuses. The first unit reveals their active card and performs all of their actions. Then the second highest does the same. In case of initiative tie, proceed to a coin toss to determine who goes first, like during deployment. Beware, when there is an initiative tie among multiple units, the units that are not activating first may choose to reveal their active card at the same time as the active unit. If they decide not to do it, they will do so at the beginning of their turn. You may also choose to skip the activation phase for your unit. Do not reveal your active card. At the end of the action phase, you may decide to keep this active card for next turn or to discard it. You may not skip activation more than once at a time, or if you are grabbed, knocked or scared. During the action phase, you may trigger a single series of effects from the main effects of your active card, the conditional effects of your active card, 2 different effects from the base abilities of your unit. Some abilities are grouped by series. It is a single action. If you choose to perform 2 base actions, you may perform this move, then this group of attacks. When you choose to resolve the main or conditional effects from an action card, do it per group of effects, from left to right. For each new effect or group of effects, you may choose to perform it or to skip it. Note that the humans have the multitasking keyword. This means each miniature may choose to resolve a different effect from those 3 possibilities I just talked about, as long as you observe unit cohesion rules. When moving, for example, you may not move more than 2 subunits. Each subunit must be adjacent to a center hex. When the subunit moves, all miniatures from the subunit move in the same number of spaces and in the same direction. As a multi-mini unit, you have a group bonus for some effects. This bonus is represented by the accession symbol on the icon. You'll find the bonus on your unit board. In this case, each 3 miniatures grants you +1. The Sergeant counts as 2 miniatures. Once you have performed all of the actions you wished, do not discard your active card. Leave it in this area. It will be used to trigger combos during the next turns. Combos grant you significant bonuses when resolving effects. You may have noticed your active card area hints at several cards. This is the number of cards you may have in this area. In our case, humans and Triceratops can each keep 3 cards. During your ulterior turns, combos may trigger when at least 2 similar icons are side by side in the combo area. The red icons are combo enders. When the leftmost icon in a series is white, count +1 per other white icon to the right of it. In this case, I gain +1 here and +2 there. When the leftmost icon in a series is a red ender, count +1 for the red ender and count +1 for each white icon to the right of it. Note that all enders that are not the leftmost count as an empty space. They break combos. In this situation, there is no combo. Whenever you add a card that should go above the allotted number of cards in your active area, simply discard the rightmost card. Scare phase. Once the action phase has ended, perform the scare phase. This phase is about making a test for enemy units that are 2 hexes or less from one another. It is not about line of sight, it is about range. Having your opponent in range is not mandatory. For a multi-miniatures unit divided into 2 subunits, a test is triggered, even if only one of these subunits is within a range of 2. The group bonus applies only for the affected subunit. In the case where 2 subunits are within range 2 of the enemy, the test is triggered only once for the unit. And the group bonus applies for both subunits. Each affected unit must take that test once as the attacker and once as the defender. When you take the test as an attacker, you must add all of your scare values. This may include the base skills on your unit board, your active card and your combos, if applicable. Compare this value to the opponent's courage value. In the same fashion, the opponent counts all courage occurrences on their unit board, active card and combos, if applicable. If your value is higher or equal to your enemies, they must discard their idle card if they have one. Then in all cases, they draw as many fear cards as the difference between the scores. In case of a tie, they draw nothing. Fear cards are directly placed on top of the opponent's action deck. If the defender's test succeeds and his courage is equal or higher than your scare value, they may remove as many fear cards of their deck and discard pile as the difference between results. After doing this, they shuffle their action deck, leaving their discard aside. If you do not have any enemy unit at range 2 or less, do not take this test. In this case only, you may remove as many fear cards as your total courage from your deck and or discard pile. Shuffle your action deck. If you do not have any fear cards, nothing happens. Proceed to the next phase of the turn. Victory phase. Before starting a new turn, you must check if a victory condition has been met. Victory conditions are normal endgame conditions, or normal victory conditions tied to secondary objectives, or bonus objectives from the scenario, or victory points during free play. In the scenario we play, there are no secondary or bonus objectives. The only victory conditions you can meet are endgame conditions. If they are not met, play a new game turn and proceed until the game end triggers. Endgame. The game ends whenever the Triceratops leaves the play area by moving out of its exit space, or when the Rangers have escorted both visitor groups to their own exit, or after the 8th game turn, if none of these two conditions have been met. Proceed to the endgame evaluation. To perform it, go to the scenario booklet and look up the situation you're in. If only one of the two visitor groups have escaped, you are in the second case. Visitors escorted to safety or Triceratops sedated. This game end situation will have consequences on your future troops or when setting up the next scenario. So as to make things a bit clearer and to showcase some major abilities, here is how the 4th game of the round is played. Players both draw 2 hero cards and add them to their hands. Then they draw action cards. The Ranger player draws their idle card, then draws 5 cards from their action deck. The Triceratops player draws 5 cards from their action deck. Each player plants their card in their active area and the Triceratops player places 1 card in their idle area. The Triceratops player gains initiative. They reveal their action cards and decide applying its main abilities. The first icon is a move icon. It indicates the unit may move 1 space. As this tile is an obstacle through which units cannot move, it decides to move there. It tries to use the knock action. This action tries to knock all miniatures in a hex adjacent to the opponent's front area. They may choose from these 2 hexes but decide to target the hex with the most rangers. To check if this action is a success, the attacker must compare the sum of its knock value and strength to the sum of strength or dodge values of their target. In our current situation, the Triceratops has a value of 8, 5 base strength, plus 1 thanks to the knock icon on the trample card, plus 2 points for the series of strength icons in the combo area. The Rangers choose to use their strength to oppose the action. This is not enough, as they only have 2 points. Their base strength is 1, plus 1 extra point through the series of icons in their combo area. The Triceratops action succeeds. Both Rangers are knocked down. Physically knock them down on the game mat. Now and until they get up, these miniatures have -1 to all their base skills and cannot move. They must spend 1 movement point to get up. Note that Rangers that have not been knocked down may act freely. Lastly, the Triceratops decides to activate its last icon series, an omnidirectional melee attack. This means they can choose to attack to the front or the back, and that they will target all miniatures on adjacent hexes in the direction they have chosen. As the Triceratops' enemies are facing it, it decides to perform the attack from the front. Only 3 miniatures are targeted, as the others are too far. They must perform a test to check if the action is a success. They must then add all the melee attack values from the icons and compare them to the dodge value of the Rangers. The Triceratops has a front attack value of 6. 3 base points plus 1 for Trample's main effect, +2 for the combo. This attack is perforating and gives a +1 dodge bonus for the defender. The dodge value of the target is 2. 2 base dodge value +1 bonus for trample, and a -1 penalty from being knocked down. The Triceratops' attack value being higher than the Ranger's dodge value, they are hurt by the attack. Apply as many wounds as the difference between results. In this case, this amounts to 4 damage. Remove a 1 hit point per damage. If a unit has armor, it can negate some damage with their armor value. Subtract armor value to the damage, then apply the remaining damage. Please note perforating attacks reduce armor value by a set number of points. As the Rangers have an armor value of 0 and no combo changing it, they suffer the whole 4 damage. Except for the Surgeon, who has 2 hit points, all Rangers have 1 hit point. The first Ranger takes 1 damage and dies, it is removed from the board. 3 damage are left to apply. Both other mercenaries die the same way and are removed. There is 1 damage left to apply, but there are no more enemies in range. It is thus ignored. The Triceratops' turn ends. The Rangers now play. The player reveals their card. They activate the subunits one after the other. They start by activating this subunit and choose to have it perform 2 effects from the base effects of their unit. They choose to move towards the exit. As this subunit is adjacent to the visitor group A, the group moves along with the Rangers. Then they choose to activate their base ranged attack ability. The player has the impressive marksmanship hero card, and it needs to be played during a ranged attack. They reveal that card from their hand. They have line of sight, and the ranged attack is made with a value of 6. 2 base points +1 thanks to impressive marksmanship. +2 points thanks to the ranged combo. +1 bonus because the Surgeon counts as 2 miniatures. This attack must be carried out on a hex to a distance of 5 maximum hexes, considering the shortest path and provided line of sight is not barred. If the attack succeeds, it can inflict 3 damage, 2 base damage, +1 for the group bonus. The Triceratops is 2 hexes away, it can be targeted by the subunit. Like for a melee attack, oppose the dodge value to the range attack. The Triceratops has 1 dodge. The Ranger's attack is a success. The Triceratops should take 3 damage and lose 3 hit points. As it has 6 armor, it will suffer none. The Triceratops gains 1 adrenaline for its armored keyword, gaining it 1 adrenaline each time it negates 2 damage. The hero card of the Rangers is discarded. The second subunit takes their turn. They trigger an operate keyword and use the sedative rifle equipment. They take a sedative card from another sedative rifle and place it aside for now. They take the test as shown on the card without caring about the main and conditional effects of the aim shot card. They must take the combo bonuses and add, if they wish to, their based range score. Our Ranger has a ranged score of 7 on a range of 5 hexes. It may apply 2 perforating damage. The Ranger chooses to aim the Triceratops behind, as its armor is weaker. They reveal the Aim the Weak Spot hero card from their hand to strengthen the perforating value of their action. They want to activate the first conditional effect. As the Ranger has only 3 adrenaline, they discard another hero card to gain 1 extra adrenaline. They spend these 4 adrenaline points. The Triceratops still has 1 dodge. This test is another success. The Triceratops behind armor value is 4, as is the perforating value of the attack. The armor value is cancelled and the Triceratops will lose 2 hit points. The sedated rifle card specified that if the target should lose hit points, the ammo card must be revealed and applied. The ranger player reveals an adequate dose and must perform a 4-threshold test to check if the dose affects the Triceratops. Important info, this test only counts the revealed sedative card without combo or skill bonuses from the attacking unit. The defender adds all of their strength values. The strength test is a failure for the attacker as the strength is 4 against the Triceratops' 7. As specified on the sedative card, it is placed beside the Triceratops' board and will serve as a bonus during a next attempt. The human player will not trigger any other base effect for this ranger. They decide to move that ranger on the same space as its colleagues to better face the upcoming scare phase. They decide not to activate their last miniatures as the Triceratops has the upper hand and that their attack is pointless. The action phase has ended, both players move to the scare phase. The test is triggered as the units are within 2 distance of one another. The rangers start testing as an attacker, with a scare value of 3. 1 base plus 1 for each sub-unit that benefits from the group bonus. The Triceratops has a courage value of 5, 4 base value plus 1 thanks to the combo. The test is a failure. The Triceratops may remove as many fear cards as the difference between the results. In our case, up to 2 fear cards. As it has no fear cards, nothing happens. Then the Triceratops performs their test as an attacker. It has a scare value of 3 against a courage value of 5 for the ranger. The test is also a failure. The rangers may discard up to 2 fear cards from their deck or action card discard. The scare phase has ended. Both players check for endgame conditions. As they are not met, a new turn begins. That's it, you know almost everything about the base rules of Jurassic World Miniature Game. Have a good game and see you soon on Tutovox.fr.